Hey there, this is Dara Connolly, your fearless confidence coach. And in this video, I'm going to teach you how to speak with confidence and authority. Let's do it. All right, let's jump right in because I'm excited to give you this content because confidence and authority are really what set you apart and go to the next level to be seen, heard, respected, and remembered from a situation. So I have 3 tips here. Tip number 1 is going to be to know what you want to say. And if you don't, improvise. Look, a lot of times people respond by how we say something more so than what we say. So let's say you're in a situation, a corporate meeting, you get called on, you're not prepared, you don't know what to say, you're feeling a little flustered. Take a moment. If you have no idea what to say, you have to improvise. You have to say something. Sometimes we're in a situation where you have to say something. So you're going to have to go with the first thing that comes to your mind. Now you can be really clever and say, you caught me off guard. I'd like to come back to that. Give me a second. That's fine. Or sometimes when you are in front of an audience, like for speakers, this will happen. You'll get a question that you're not prepared to answer. It's something that maybe stumps you a little bit. Pause. That's a great question. I'd like to get back to you on that. That actually is a very powerful, confident way to handle the situation. Now, if you are going into a situation where you have time to prepare what you want to say, I want you to prepare, because the more that you know what you're going to say before you say it, the more you can articulate with confidence. And the way you do that is by slowing down, holding the words, let them linger, and giving yourself and the audience that space. We've talked a lot in different videos of how to really speak with pausing and pacing. But the most important thing is to think about how you say something. So tip number 1 is know what you're going to say. And if you don't, improvise. You can use this in any situation. You can be randomly bumping into someone at Starbucks or bumping into a friend that you haven't seen in a while, and you're taken off guard. And there's that moment of, I don't know what to say. Improvise. Well, I don't know what to say. It's great to see you. There's nothing wrong with saying that. At times you'll see politicians do this really well when they're stumped with a question. It's the art of pivoting. You can pivot the conversation back to the other person. You can take it off yourself. You can compliment them. But the idea here is to talk about what you do know. So if you're caught off guard, talk about what you do know and improvise with something that is comfortable to you. Yeah, let's go back to that example. You bump into a friend you haven't seen in a long time, you're taken back, you don't know what to say. Then we turn into something we do want to say, such as, wow, it's great to see you. I don't know what to say. Hey, I remember you were starting your own business. How is that going? So we turned it into something that we do know. And that keeps the conversation going. We throw it back to the other person. So it keeps the conversation going and it keeps our confidence held in high regard. Anytime you're in a social situation, you are holding confidence, you are holding authority of the situation when you show that you can pull a conversation back and not get derailed. Don't be the person that stops with, I don't know what to say. That's not where you stop. You have to bring it back to something that you do know what to say. So I'm going to repeat it one more time to make sure it sticks. Tip number 1 is know what you're going to say. And if you don't, improvise. Okay, now tip number 2 is to control your content. This is for those of you who are entrepreneurs who tend to give a little too much. Maybe you are giving you're a coach and you give away a little bit too much of your coaching material, or a speaker on a stage who says too much because you're nervous, or even in your work environment. We get caught off guard. We want to still show that we're a confident person, but when we're off guard, we're not sure what to talk about. And sometimes we say too much. People ask you your personal plans and you may disclose them because you were caught off guard. Control your content. Nobody knows what you're about to say unless you say it. So you have a choice, remember, you have a choice of whether or not you're going to contribute in that conversation, whether you're going to stop talking. You know, I was recently on a podcast where somebody asked me a question, and sometimes people do this. You know, I was mentioning an acronym that I have, and I didn't want to get into the full acronym because we didn't have time to explain it in the podcast. And the host asked me about it. And I tried to derail the conversation and bring it back. And she went back again and said, can you explain each one of those points in more detail? Now, I was caught off guard. I wasn't prepared. And it wasn't part of what I wanted to share on that podcast because this is a little bit more proprietary information. So I just brought it back and talked about what I do know. I said, these are great points. I'd love to tell you about the blah, blah, blah acronym, but we really don't have time in this podcast. But what I can tell you is, and then I went on. You see how I'm doing that? I'm controlling my content because if I give it all out, then once it's out there, it's out there. So you control what you tell other people. You don't have to share it all if you don't want to. You don't have to say something that you're not comfortable sharing. Even if you're telling a story, control what content's in your story. If something's personal, it's okay to skip over that part and say, this part's a little personal. But what I do want to tell you about is, so use the art of the pivot that we've learned so well from our politician friends. And as you do that, keep control of your content. Okay, now before I get on to tip number 3 on how you can show authority and confidence when you're speaking, and this is a good time for you to hit that subscribe button so you can be notified when I publish new videos. And take a peek down below at DaraConnollyCLUB, which is a newly launched club that has a plethora of videos on how to help you speak up on stage, be more confident, overcome fear, and so much more. Just click the link and you'll see all the amazing experts that are in that club. Okay, tip 3 on how to show your confidence and authority is to remember your body language. Physiology is so important, and this is an area that a lot of people gloss over, but it's one of the easiest ways to actually convey confidence, and I want you to take a moment to think about this. When you walk into a room, the first time you click on a Zoom meeting, or the first time you meet someone, people are judging you. They're sizing you up in those first 3 seconds. 3 seconds. The way you walk in the room, the way you carry yourself, whether you say hello or not, all of this is being calculated in the other person's mind of what type of person you are. So we want to create the image that you want others to have of you. And you do this by controlling your physiology. We just talked about controlling your content. Well, this is control your physiology. I want you to notice how you enter a room. If you're feeling a little bit tired or you have a lot on your mind, focus, because this is important. You get one time to make a first impression and get back into that energy. Get alert and aware, because when you walk in that room, I want you to not only walk with your shoulders back, your chin up, but with a little smirk on your face. Almost like you're walking in with a secret that you can't wait to share with someone that will have heads turning in your direction. You're going to scan the room, just a quick 5 to 7 seconds to make eye contact with everyone around. And as you're doing this, you're noticing who looks inviting, who looks friendly, who do I want to sit next to or stand next to at this event? So you are again controlling the outcome by controlling your physiology. Now let's take this even deeper. Know what your hands are doing. If you're walking, there should be a nice pace with the hands swinging. If you're standing still, we're going to keep the hands clasped or use them to emphasize points with very firm and direct gestures. Notice the gestures I'm doing. I'm not pointing at a person, and they're not weak or flimsy or fidgety. They are very set and firm gestures. Palms of the hands and fingers being a little bit deliberate. Notice how you're standing. A lot of us tend to shift our weight from leg to leg. We tend to cross at the ankles, or we kind of tap a foot or do all this other stuff. If you want to make a fantastic, phenomenal, unforgettable first impression that really shows confidence and authority, Stand with your feet 6 inches apart. Even if you're, a woman who's wearing a dress or a skirt, that's not open enough that it looks awkward. That's a perfect distance. And stand with your navel tucked in a little bit and let yourself carry a pose of strength and posture. This is important. Your physiology is really important. Now, remember, you are being judged by how you look. So actions speak louder than words. If I walk into a room and I don't say anything, but I walk in confidently and I notice others and that's a very deliberate, confident person. Then if I take that to the next level, check please. Do you see what I'm doing? I need you to put this whole package together. So let's recap the 3 tips today. The first is how when you first appear, I want you to know what you're going to say, and if you don't, you improvise. The second is to control your content. You think about what you want to share ahead of time and don't give away too much. The third is to remember your physiology and how you're carrying yourself. I back in the days before I became an entrepreneur, I used to teach middle school, high school students how to be more confident. And I would notice instantly when I walked into a room of especially teens, that if you didn't carry yourself with confidence, kind of walked in just casually, they would keep talking and it would be very hard to get control of that class. And when I started to really experiment with my own physiology and walking in as if I own that classroom, because as a teacher you do, walk in confident, swift, deliberate movements, stand at the front, shoulders back, and scan the room and hold that silence for a moment. Wow, did those kids step up, sit up in their chair, stop talking, and slowly the room would come to a silence. What's happening? You can dominate a room based on your physiology. You can get others to notice you based on your physiology. Start paying attention to how other people walk. Are they fidgeting? Are hands in their pockets playing with change? Or when you're in a meeting, do most people sit there unnecessarily moving? Can you be the calmest person in the room? The one who moves the least? If you can, you're going to control that room. Then when it's time for you to talk, think about what you're going to say. And if you're caught off guard, confidently improvise it. You see how we're putting these tips together? So strong body language plus strong language makes a confident person. So now that I've taught you how to speak with confidence and authority, you're going to want to watch my next video, which is how to coach someone with confidence. Be sure to click the link below and check out DaraConnollyCLUB, and I look forward to seeing you there. Until then, you are amazing.